She begged him not to hit her with that tray again, but the drunk wouldn't stop. Then a hand caught his wrist mid-swing. The mafia boss from the corner booth, the one everyone whispered about in fear, had finally stood up. What terrified her most wasn't that he saved her. It was that he kept coming back. The fluorescent lights of Danny's diner buzzed like angry wasps at 11:47 p.m. Maya Rodriguez wiped down table 6 for the third time, her shoulders aching from a double shift that had stretched into its 14th hour. Outside, rain hammered the cracked sidewalk of Chicago's South Side, turning the street into a river of neon reflections. "Hey, sweetheart. You deaf or just stupid?" Maya's hand froze mid-wipe. The drunk man at table 9, polo shirt stained with bourbon, gold watch that screamed borrowed money, snapped his fingers like she was a dog. His two friends laughed, their eyes glassy and mean. "Coming, sir." Maya's voice came out smaller than she wanted. She grabbed the water pitcher, forcing her hands steady as she approached their table. About damn time, the man, late 30s, receding hairline trying to hide under too much gel, pushed his glass toward her without looking up from his phone. "And make it cold this time." "What kind of dump serves warm water?" Maya poured carefully, but her exhausted grip betrayed her. The pitcher tilted too far. Water splashed onto the man's sleeve. The diner went quiet. "You stupid." The man shot to his feet, his chair screeching backward. "Do you know how much this shirt costs?" "I'm so sorry, sir." "Please let me." Maya reached for a napkin, but he slapped her hand away. "Don't touch me with your greasy fingers." His face flushed purple. "You people come here can't even do a simple job right." "I'll get you another drink on the house," Maya whispered, backing toward the kitchen. Her eyes stung, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of everyone. The man grabbed the metal serving tray from the empty table beside him. "You think sorry fixes anything?" Maya saw it coming but couldn't move fast enough. The tray's edge caught her forearm with a crack that echoed through the diner. Pain exploded up to her shoulder. Blood welled from a gash near her elbow. "Please," Maya gasped, cradling her arm. "Please don't." He raised the tray again. A hand caught his wrist mid-swing. The drunk man's face went from angry red to ghost white in half a second. Maya looked up through her tears at whoever had stopped him, and her breath caught. The man was tall, maybe 6'2", with black hair swept back from a face carved from granite and shadows. He wore an expensive charcoal suit that fit like it had been measured by angels, but it was his eyes that made Maya's stomach drop, dark brown, almost black, and completely empty of mercy. "Apologize to her." The man's voice was quiet, soft even, but something in it made the drunk's friends scramble out of their booth and back toward the door. "Do you know who the drunk started?" Rafael Costa. The name came from somewhere near the kitchen. Maya turned to see Luis, the night cook, standing frozen with a spatula in his hand. His face had gone gray. "That's Rafael Costa." The drunk man's knees actually buckled. The tray clattered to the floor. Maya had heard that name before. Everyone in this neighborhood had. Rafael Costa ran the South Side like it was his personal kingdom: drugs, protection rackets, gambling. The cops couldn't touch him. The FBI had tried twice. Both times, witnesses disappeared and evidence turned to smoke. They said he'd killed his first man at 17. They said he owned half the judges in the city. They said a lot of things, but the only thing that mattered was this. When Rafael Costa looked at you the way he was looking at this drunk right now, you understood exactly how small and fragile human life really was. "I said apologize." Rafael's grip tightened on the man's wrist. Maya heard something crack, bone or cartilage. She couldn't tell.
"I'm sorry."
The words tumbled out in a panicked rush. I'm sorry, please." "Not to me." Rafael jerked his head toward Maya.
"To her."
The drunk turned, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry, miss. I was drunk. I didn't mean. Please forgive me." Maya couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Blood dripped from her arm onto the checkered linoleum, forming a small puddle that seemed impossibly red under the fluorescent lights. Raphael released the man's wrist and straightened his cufflinks with the calm precision of someone adjusting their tie before a business meeting. Get out. If I see you in this neighborhood again, they'll find you in the river with your tongue cut out. Not if you understand. The man nodded so hard Maya thought his neck might snap. Then he ran, out into the rain, his friends scrambling after him like rats abandoning a sinking ship. The diner remained silent. 20 pairs of eyes watched Rafael Costa, the man who made hardened criminals wet themselves, turn to face the trembling waitress with the bleeding arm. Maya's vision swam. The pain, the fear, the adrenaline, it all crashed into her at once. Her knees went weak. Hey, Raphael moved fast, catching her before she hit the ground. His arms were surprisingly gentle. Maya smelled expensive cologne and cigarette smoke. You're okay. I've got you. But she wasn't okay, because those empty, merciless eyes were looking right at her now, and even though he'd saved her, even though he'd stopped that man from hurting her worse, Maya was absolutely terrified. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Raphael's face, and something that might have been regret flickering across it like a candle in the wind. Then nothing. Maya's eyes fluttered open to the smell of coffee and antiseptic. She was lying on the cracked vinyl bench in the diner's back office, her arm wrapped in clean white gauze. Someone had draped a jacket over her, charcoal gray, expensive fabric, still warm. She's awake, Luis's voice, uncertain and afraid. Maya sat up too quickly. The room tilted. Through the office's narrow window, she could see the diner had emptied out. Only 3 people remained, Luis hovering by the door, Sarah the other waitress wringing her hands by the register, and Rafael Costa, sitting perfectly still in the corner booth like a king on a throne made of red vinyl and duct tape. He was watching her. The cut wasn't deep, Luis said, not meeting her eyes. We cleaned it, bandaged it up. You should probably still go to the hospital, get it checked. Did he leave? Maya's voice came out hoarse. She meant the drunk man, but her eyes were locked on Raphael. Yeah, Luis swallowed hard. Yeah, he left. Maya, about what happened. Everyone can go home. Raphael spoke without raising his voice, but Luis flinched like he'd been shouted at. I'll make sure she gets home safe. I can take her, Luis offered weakly. It's no trouble. Raphael's gaze shifted to the cook. Didn't say a word. Didn't have to. Luis grabbed his coat and was out the back door in 10 seconds flat. Sarah followed even faster, mumbling something about an early morning shift. Then it was just the 2 of them. Maya pressed herself against the office wall, her heart hammering so hard she thought her ribs might crack. Raphael stood slowly, smoothing down his suit jacket. He picked up his jacket from the bench, the one that had been covering her, and draped it over his arm. You're afraid of me. It wasn't a question. Maya's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her hands were shaking. She hated herself for it, hated that after everything, after he'd saved her, stopped that man from doing God knows what, all she could feel was pure, animal terror. Because she knew who Rafael Costa was. She'd heard the stories. Last year, a rival gang tried to move into his territory. They found the leader's body parts scattered across 3 different dumpsters. The message was clear. This is what happens when you cross me. And now that man was standing 6 feet away from her in an empty diner at midnight. I didn't mean to scare you, Raphael said quietly. He took a step closer. Maya's legs gave out. She slid down the wall, landing hard on the floor, her bandaged arm clutched to her chest. Please, she whispered. Please, I won't tell anyone what I saw. I'll forget it happened. I promise. Raphael stopped moving. Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe, or hurt. It vanished as quickly as it appeared. What do you think you saw? You. Maya's voice cracked. You stopped him. You saved me. But everyone knows who you are, what you do, and a sob caught in her throat. I'm grateful. I swear I am. But please don't hurt me. Please. The silence stretched between them like broken glass. Raphael crouched down, slowly, keeping his distance. His expression was unreadable. I'm not going to hurt you. I stopped someone from hurting you. That's all that happened here tonight. Then why is everyone so afraid? The words tumbled out before Maya could stop them. Luis ran like you were going to kill him. Sarah too. Everyone in this neighborhood knows your name, and they all look like they've seen death when they say it. Because of what I am, Raphael's jaw tightened. Because of what I've done. Because fear keeps people in line, keeps them safe, keeps my world from falling apart, he stood, brushing invisible dust from his knees. But I didn't come here to terrify a waitress. I came here for coffee and quiet. That man hurt you. I stopped him. End of story. Maya watched him walk toward the door. Her arm throbbed. Her whole body ached. But something in his voice, something hollow and tired, made her speak. Mr. Costa? He paused, his hand on the doorframe. Thank you, the words felt inadequate. For stopping him. Even if I can't stop shaking. Thank you. Raphael turned slightly, his profile sharp against the diner's harsh lighting. You're the first person in 10 years to say thank you and still look at me like I'm a monster. His voice was soft, almost wondering. Most people pick one or the other. Maybe you're both, Maya said before she could think better of it. A ghost of a smile crossed Raphael's face. Not happy. Not sad.
Just there. Yeah.
Maybe I am. He pulled a thick envelope from his inside pocket and set it on the nearest table. For the damages. And your hospital visit. Don't argue. He walked out into the rain without another word, leaving Maya alone in the empty diner with a bandaged arm, a racing heart, and the strange, unsettling feeling that she'd just seen something nobody else ever had. Raphael Costa looking almost human. She counted to 100 before her legs would work again. When she finally stood and looked in the envelope, she found $5,000 in crisp hundreds and a business card with nothing but a phone number on it. No name.
No explanation.
Just a number, and the lingering scent of expensive cologne mixed with cigarette smoke and rain. Maya arrived at Danny's diner the next morning with her arm in a proper sling from the urgent care clinic she'd finally dragged herself to at 3 a.m. The doctor had asked too many questions. She'd lied through all of them. Tripped carrying dishes. Hit the corner of a table. No one else was involved. The envelope with $5,000 was hidden under her mattress at home. She hadn't touched a single bill. Somehow, spending Raphael Costa's money felt like signing a contract she didn't understand. You okay? Sarah asked the moment Maya pushed through the door. The morning shift was quieter, mostly truck drivers and early risers grabbing breakfast before work. Normal people living normal lives. I'm fine. Maya tied her apron one-handed. Just a bad cut. Nothing serious. Nothing serious? Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. Maya, Raphael Costa nearly broke that guy's wrist. Luis said he heard bones crack. Do you know what kind of trouble? He helped me, Maya said firmly. That's all. Now can we please just work? Sarah opened her mouth to argue, then thought better of it. The morning passed in a blur of coffee refills and breakfast orders. Maya moved mechanically, her body going through the motions while her mind replayed last night over and over. The way Raphael had caught her. The way he'd looked at her with those empty eyes. The way his voice had sounded when he said, "You're the first person in 10 years to say thank you and still look at me like I'm a monster." She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice the door chime at 10:47 a.m. Table for one. Maya's head snapped up. Her blood turned to ice. Raphael Costa stood in the doorway, but he looked different. No expensive suit. Just faded jeans, a black t-shirt, and a leather jacket that had seen better days. No guards flanking him. No gun bulge under his clothes that she could see. He looked like any other guy in his early 30s stopping by for late breakfast. Except for his eyes. Those hadn't changed. The diner went silent. A trucker at the counter slowly set down his fork. Sarah dropped a coffee pot. It didn't break, but the clatter echoed like a gunshot. I'll sit anywhere, Raphael said calmly, as if he hadn't just frozen an entire room with his presence. Maya's feet moved on autopilot. She grabbed a menu with her good hand and led him to a booth by the window, the same booth where he'd sat last night, she realized with a start. The same spot where he'd watched everything unfold. Coffee. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. Please, he took the menu, but didn't open it. And I owe you an apology. Maya's hand, reaching for her order pad, stopped midair. What? Last night. I overreacted. Raphael's gaze was steady, unflinching. That man was drunk and stupid, but I shouldn't have handled it the way I did. Not in front of you. Not after you'd already been hurt. Maya struggled to find words. You stopped him from hitting me again. That's not overreacting. I terrified you, Raphael's jaw tightened. You passed out from fear, not pain. I saw your face before you fainted. You weren't looking at someone who saved you. You were looking at something that scared you more than the drunk with the tray. The truth of it hung between them like smoke. Maya wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. She settled into the booth across from him without thinking, her legs suddenly too weak to keep standing. You didn't overreact, she said quietly. You scared me. The way everyone reacted to your name. The way that man looked at you like you were death itself, she met his eyes. Who are you really? You already know who I am, Raphael leaned back, his expression unreadable. You heard Luis say my name. You've probably heard stories. I've heard a lot of stories, Maya admitted. I don't know which ones are true. Most of them, probably. He said it so casually, like admitting he was a criminal was the same as admitting he preferred his coffee black. I run things in this neighborhood. I make money in ways that would get me locked up if the cops could prove it.
I've hurt people who got in my way.
I've done things I can't take back. Maya's stomach twisted. Then why are you here? Because you didn't thank me last night. Raphael's voice was quiet, almost thoughtful. Everyone always thanks me. Out of fear. Out of obligation, because they want something from me. But you thanked me, and still looked at me like I might hurt you. You were honest about being afraid. And that's good. It's real. Something shifted in Raphael's expression, not quite a smile, but close. Nobody's been real with me in a long time. Everyone either wants something or they're too scared to breathe wrong around me. But you looked me in the eye and called me a monster while thanking me for saving you. I didn't call you a monster, Maya protested weakly. You said I might be both, a savior and a monster. Same thing. Raphael pulled out a 20 and set it on the table. Keep the change. And Maya? She blinked. You know my name? It's on your name tag, he stood, adjusting his jacket. I'll probably be back tomorrow. If that's a problem, tell me now and I'll find somewhere else for coffee. Maya should have said yes. Should have told him to stay away, that his presence would scare off customers, that she didn't want anything to do with a man who made criminals cry. Instead, she heard herself say, black coffee, right? Raphael's lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but the closest thing to one she'd seen.
Yeah.
Black coffee. He walked out into the bright morning sun, leaving Maya sitting in his booth, holding a $20 bill for a cup of coffee he never drank, and wondering what the hell she'd just agreed to. Raphael came back the next day. And the day after that. And the day after that. By the end of the week, it had become routine. He'd arrive around 10:30 a.m., always alone, always in jeans and a t-shirt like he was trying to blend in. He'd sit in the same booth, order black coffee, and read the newspaper while Maya worked her shift. He never stayed long, an hour at most. He never bothered anyone, never made threats or talked business. He just existed there like a normal person, except everyone in the diner treated him like a bomb that might go off at any moment. Everyone except Maya, who was starting to find his presence oddly comforting. You're insane, Sarah hissed on Friday morning, watching Maya refill Raphael's coffee for the third time. Do you know what people are saying? That you're his girlfriend. That he owns this place now. That he's using you for something. He's just drinking coffee, Maya said, but even she didn't believe how normal she was trying to make it sound. Nobody just drinks coffee with Rafael Costa. Maybe Sarah was right. But Maya couldn't shake the memory of how he'd looked at her that first morning, like she was the first real thing he'd seen in years. And there was something about the way he sat in that booth, shoulders relaxed, guard down, that made her think maybe he needed this place as much as she needed the paycheck. On Saturday, everything changed. Maya was carrying a tray of dirty dishes to the kitchen when she heard a crash from the storage room. She pushed through the door to find Rafael on the floor, surrounded by fallen boxes, the storage room's broken door hanging off one hinge. "What are you?" Door was falling off. Rafael stood, brushing dust from his jeans. "Noticed it yesterday. Figured I'd fix it before someone got hurt." Maya stared at him, at the toolbox open on the floor, at the new hinges he'd apparently brought with him. "You're fixing our door?" Seemed faster than waiting for your boss to do it. Rafael picked up a screwdriver. "Guy hasn't been in here in 3 months, right? Luis mentioned it." "You talked to Luis?" "He's warming up to me." Only flinches every other sentence now. Rafael lined up the hinge with practiced ease. "Hand me that drill." Maya found herself obeying, passing him tools while he worked. His movements were efficient, confident. She'd expected a crime boss to have soft hands, but his were calloused and scarred, the hands of someone who'd done real work, not just ordered others to do it. "Where'd you learn this?" she asked. "My father was a contractor. Before he died, Rafael didn't look up from his work. Taught me everything: plumbing, electrical, carpentry. Thought I'd take over the business." He tested the hinge's strength. Life had other plans. It was the first personal thing he'd shared. Maya sat on a crate, cradling her healing arm. "What happened?" "He got sick. Cancer. Medical bills buried us." Rafael's jaw tightened. "I was 17. Had 2 choices, watch my mother lose the house or find money fast. I found it, just not the legal way." "And you couldn't stop?" "Didn't want to." He finally looked at her. "Turned out I was good at it. Being feared. Taking control. Building an empire from nothing. By the time I realized what I'd become, it was too late to be anything else." Maya watched him work in silence. Outside, she could hear the lunch rush building. But in here, in this dusty storage room, Rafael Costa looked less like a crime lord and more like a tired man trying to fix something broken. "Why are you really here?" she asked softly. "Every day, I mean." "It's not for the coffee." Rafael set down the drill. "You want the truth?" "Please." "Because you didn't thank me." He met her eyes. "Everyone thanks me, Maya. Out of fear, obligation, because they want protection or money or mercy. But you were right not to. I didn't save you to be a hero. I saved you because I was angry. Because that drunk reminded me of every entitled piece of trash who thinks money makes them untouchable." He stood, testing the door. It swung smoothly on its new hinges. "You looked at me like I was dangerous. Because I am. And somehow that was the most honest anyone's been with me in years." Maya's throat felt tight. "So you come here for honesty?" "I come here because for 1 hour a day, I can drink coffee and read the paper and pretend I'm not who I am." Rafael's voice was quiet. "Because you're terrified of me, but you still talk to me like I'm human. Because this place doesn't ask anything from me except $4 for coffee." He gathered his tools, loaded them back in the box. "But if it bothers you, I'll stop. I'm not here to make your life harder." Maya should have said yes. Should have told him to leave and never come back. Instead, she found herself standing, moving closer. "The door looks good. Thank you." Rafael blinked, surprise flickering across his face. "You're thanking me now?" "For fixing the door. Not for saving me." She managed a small smile. "You were right about that part. You didn't do it to be thanked." Something shifted in Rafael's expression. A wall cracking, maybe, or a door opening slightly. "I'll be back Monday. If that's okay. Black coffee will be waiting." He nodded, shouldered his toolbox, and walked out through the diner's front door. Maya watched him go, noticing for the first time that several of the other waitresses had been peeking through the kitchen window, their faces a mix of fear and confusion. But Maya wasn't confused anymore. She was beginning to understand that Rafael Costa was exactly what he'd said, both savior and monster, depending on the angle you looked from. And maybe, just maybe, he was trying to figure out which one he wanted to be. 3 weeks passed. Rafael became part of the diner's rhythm, like the coffee machine's hum or the squeak of Booth 7. He fixed the leaking sink in the men's bathroom, helped Luis carry heavy supply boxes, left generous tips that Maya tried to refuse, but he insisted she keep. "He's different with you," Sarah observed one afternoon, watching Rafael laugh. Actually laugh at something Maya had said about a difficult customer. "I've never seen him smile. Didn't think he knew how." Maya didn't know what to say to that. She'd noticed it too, the way his shoulders relaxed when she approached his table, the way his eyes softened when they talked. It should have scared her. Maybe it did, a little. But mostly it just felt normal. Until Leo showed up. It was 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, the dinner rush winding down. Maya was wiping tables when the door burst open so hard it slammed against the wall. Her younger brother stumbled in, his face pale and slick with sweat despite the October chill.
Lao.
Maya dropped her rag, rushing toward him. "What's wrong? What happened?" Leo was 22, still finding his way in the world. He dropped out of college last year, bounced between jobs, made questionable friends. But Maya had never seen him look like this, eyes wild with fear, hands shaking, a bruise blooming purple on his left cheekbone. "I screwed up, Maya," his voice cracked. "I screwed up so bad." Maya pulled him toward an empty booth in the back, away from curious eyes. She didn't notice Rafael looking up sharply from his newspaper 2 booths away, his entire body tensing like a predator catching a scent. "Tell me what happened." Maya gripped Leo's hands across the table. They were ice cold. "You remember Marcus?" Leo wouldn't meet her eyes. "From my old neighborhood?" He said he could help me make some quick money. "Just some deliveries," he said. "Easy work." Maya's stomach dropped.
Leo, no.
"Tell me you didn't." "I didn't know it was drugs." Leo's voice rose, then dropped to a desperate whisper. "I swear I didn't know until the second run. By then I'd already taken the money, and Marcus said I was in it now whether I liked it or not." "How much do you owe?" Maya asked, though she didn't want to know the answer. 12,000. Leo's face crumpled. "I lost a package. Got jumped on the south side. They took everything. Marcus's boss, a guy named Moreno, he says I owe him for the lost product plus interest. He gave me 2 weeks to pay." Tears streaked down his face. "That was 13 days ago, Maya. He's gonna kill me." "He said he'd kill me." Maya's hands went numb.
12,000 dollars.
She had maybe 800 in savings. The money Rafael had given her was still under her mattress, untouched, but even that wouldn't be enough. And spending it felt like crossing a line she couldn't uncross. "We'll figure something out," she heard herself say. "We'll talk to the police." "The police?" Leo laughed, a broken sound. "Moreno owns half the cops in his district. And even if he didn't, I'd be the one going to jail. I'm the drug dealer, Maya. I'm the criminal. You're not a criminal. You made a mistake. A mistake that's gonna get me killed." Leo grabbed her wrists. "Moreno's guys came to my apartment today. They said if I don't have the money by Friday, they're gonna break my legs first, then work their way up." "Maya, I don't know what to do." "I don't." "It's okay." Maya's mind raced, trying to think of solutions that didn't exist. "We'll figure it out. Maybe I can take a loan, or sell Mom's jewelry, or—" "That won't be enough time." Leo stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. "I shouldn't have come here. I shouldn't drag you into this. I needed to see you. In case." He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't have to. Maya watched her baby brother walk out into the night, his shoulders hunched with the weight of a death sentence, and felt her world tilt sideways. She made it to the bathroom before the tears came, locked herself in a stall and sobbed into her hands, trying to keep quiet so the customers wouldn't hear.
12,000 dollars.
2 days. No way out. When she finally emerged, red-eyed and shaking, she found Sarah waiting by the sinks. "I heard," Sarah said quietly. The whole diner heard. Maya, I'm so sorry. Maya splashed cold water on her face. I need to get back to work. Danny said take the rest of the night off. He'll cover your tables. I can't afford to lose the hours. Maya, Sarah's voice was gentle. Go home. Be with your brother. Figure something out. But there was nothing to figure out. Maya knew it. Sarah knew it. And somewhere in the diner, sitting in his usual booth with a newspaper he was no longer reading, Rafael Costa knew it too. Maya gathered her things in a daze. She pushed through the diner's front door into the cool night air, her mind a whirlwind of impossible numbers and terrible possibilities. She didn't see Rafael watching her go, his coffee untouched and cold, his jaw clenched so tight it could crack diamonds. She didn't see him pull out his phone and make a single call that would change everything. She didn't see the way his eyes had darkened when he'd heard the name Moreno, a darkness that promised violence and retribution and all the things Rafael Costa did best. Maya went home to her tiny apartment, climbed into bed fully clothed, and tried not to imagine what her brother would look like with broken legs. 2 booths away from where she'd been sitting, Rafael left $300 on the table and walked out into the night with the quiet, purposeful stride of a man going to war. Maya didn't sleep. She spent the night staring at her ceiling, doing math that never worked out, imagining scenarios that all ended badly. By the time her alarm went off at 6 a.m., she'd called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years and was already trying to figure out which pawn shops might give her the best price for her mother's wedding ring. Her phone rang at 7:15 a.m. Leo's number. Hello. Her voice was hoarse from crying. Maya, Leo sounded breathless, confused. Maya, something happened. Her heart stopped. Are you hurt? Did they?
No, I'm fine.
I'm better than fine. He laughed, the sound almost hysterical. The debt's gone. Maya sat up, so fast her head spun. What? I woke up to find an envelope under my door. No note, no name, just cash. $12,000 exactly, Maya. The exact amount I owed, his voice cracked. Someone paid my debt. The room tilted. Maya gripped the phone tighter. That's impossible. Who would? I don't know. I took it straight to Moreno's guys. They counted it, made some calls, then told me we were square. Said their boss got a call last night from someone who settled the account, they wouldn't say who. But Maya knew. God help her, she knew exactly who. Leo, where are you now? At Jimmy's apartment. I'm staying here for a few days, just to be safe. Maya, who did this? Do you know someone with that kind of money? I need to go, Maya said quickly. Stay at Jimmy's. Don't go out alone. I'll call you later. She hung up before he could ask more questions. Her hands were shaking as she pulled on jeans and a sweatshirt. She was out the door in 5 minutes, half running the 6 blocks to Danny's diner. It was too early for Rafael's usual arrival, but she had to try. Had to know if. The diner was nearly empty. Just a couple of truckers at the counter and Danny in the back office.
No, Rafael.
Maya? Sarah looked up from refilling salt shakers. I thought you called in sick. Have you seen him? Maya's voice came out too loud.
Rafael.
Has he been here? Not yet. You okay? You look. But Maya was already pushing back out the door. She stood on the sidewalk, her breath fogging in the cold morning air, trying to think. Where would he be? His house? His office? Did crime bosses even have offices? Looking for someone? Maya spun around. Rafael was leaning against the building's corner, a coffee cup from the bodega down the street in his hand. He wore the same leather jacket as yesterday, his dark hair slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. You. Maya marched toward him, her fear temporarily overwhelmed by fury. You paid Leo's debt. Rafael took a sip of his coffee. Did I? Don't play games with me. $12,000 in an envelope under his door? The debt mysteriously cleared overnight. Her voice shook. You had no right. I had every right. Rafael's voice was calm, controlled. Moreno deals in my territory. He knows the rules. No targeting civilians who aren't in the game. Your brother made a stupid mistake, but he's not a player. Moreno crossed a line. So this is about territory? About your rules. Maya's hands clenched into fists. My brother isn't a chess piece in your gang war. No, Raphael's eyes hardened. He's your brother. And Moreno was going to hurt him, to send me a message. That makes it my problem. Maya stared at him. What are you talking about? You think Moreno doesn't know you work at my diner? That I sit in your section every day. Raphael set down his coffee cup with deliberate care. He's been trying to expand into my territory for months. I've been pushing back. So he found leverage, your brother. Probably had his guys sell Leo on the delivery job, specifically. When Leo lost the package, Moreno saw an opportunity. The words hit Maya like physical blows. You're saying this is my fault? That Leo's in danger because of me? I'm saying Moreno was willing to hurt an innocent kid to get to me. Raphael's jaw tightened. That's not your fault. That's not Leo's fault. That's Moreno being stupid enough to think I'd let it slide. And you just what? Paid the debt to keep the peace. Maya heard the bitterness in her own voice. How generous. I paid the debt, so your brother wouldn't get his legs broken. Raphael's voice dropped, quiet and cold. And I had a conversation with Moreno this morning. 3 a.m., to be specific. Made it clear that your family is off limits. He won't touch Leo. He won't even breathe in his direction. Maya's anger drained away, leaving her hollow and shaking. What did you do? Nothing you need to worry about. Raphael picked up his coffee again. Leo's debt is cleared. He's safe. That's all that matters. I can't. Maya's voice broke. I can't pay you back $12,000. I don't have that kind of money. I'm not asking you to pay me back. Then what do you want? The question came out as barely a whisper. Because there was always a cost. Always a debt. She knew that much about Raphael's world. Raphael was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. I want you to understand that you shouldn't have to pay for other people's mistakes. Your brother made bad choices. Moreno made worse ones.
But you...
He met her eyes. You just showed up to work, did your job, and got caught in the crossfire. That's not fair. So I fixed it. Why? Maya's throat felt tight. Why do you care? Raphael looked at her like she'd asked him to explain quantum physics. Like the answer was obvious and impossible at the same time. Because you talk to me like I'm human. Because you're terrified of me, but you still pour my coffee every morning. Because, he stopped, seeming to struggle with words. Because someone should look out for you the way you look out for everyone else. Maya's eyes stung with tears she refused to let fall. You barely know me. I know you work double shifts to send money to your grandmother in Phoenix. I know you always give the homeless guy on the corner your leftover breakfast. I know you apologize to tables even when customers are the ones being assholes. Raphael's voice was quiet. I know enough. He turned to walk away, then paused. Your brother should stay clean. No more deliveries, no more Marcus. If he needs work, tell him to call this number. He handed her a business card. Legitimate construction company. They'll hire him, no questions asked. Then he was gone, disappearing around the corner, leaving Maya standing alone with a business card in her hand and the strange, terrifying realization that Rafael Costa had been watching her, really watching her, this entire time. And somehow, that scared her less than it should have. 3 days passed in uneasy quiet. Leo took the construction job and showed up on time every morning, terrified and grateful in equal measure. Maya went back to work, pouring coffee and serving breakfast, while trying not to think about the fact that she now owed Rafael Costa something she could never repay. He didn't come to the diner. Not Wednesday. Not Thursday. By Friday, Maya found herself glancing at the door every time the bell chimed, expecting to see him walk in with his leather jacket and unreadable expression. But he never did. Maybe he's done with his little coffee shop phase, Sarah suggested, though she looked nervous saying it. Maybe he got what he wanted. But what had he wanted? Maya still couldn't figure it out. She'd replayed their last conversation 100 times, trying to read between the lines, searching for the hidden angle. There had to be one. Men like Rafael Costa didn't just help people out of kindness. except he'd fix their door, and paid her brother's debt, and asked for nothing in return. Friday night, Maya stayed late to help Leo close the diner. Danny had hired him for evening shifts, dishwashing and cleaning, simple work that kept him busy and off the streets. They were wiping down tables at 11:30 p.m. when the first brick came through the window. Glass exploded inward. Maya screamed, throwing her arms up to shield her face. A second brick followed, then a third, each one shattering another window in a cascading symphony of destruction. "Get down!" Leo grabbed Maya, pulling her behind the counter as the front door burst open. 4 men walked in. Not stumbling drunks or desperate addicts. These were professionals. Leather jackets, cold eyes, brass knuckles glinting in the fluorescent light. The lead man had a scar running from his temple to his jaw, and a smile that promised violence. "Maya Rodriguez?" His voice was smooth, almost polite. "Moreno sends his regards." Maya's blood turned to ice. Leo positioned himself in front of her, his hands raised. "Leave her alone. She's got nothing to do with this." "Oh, but she does." Scarface took a step closer, his boots crunching on broken glass. "She's got everything to do with this. See, Rafael Costa thinks he can interfere with Moreno's business and just walk away. Thinks he can embarrass us, make us look weak. All because he's got a soft spot for some waitress." "I don't know what you're talking about," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady.
I'm nobody.
Just let us go, and we'll forget this happened." "Nobody." Scarface laughed. "Rafael Costa doesn't do favors for nobody. Word on the street is he comes here every day, sits in your section, stares at you like you're the second coming." His smile widened. "So Moreno figures you hurt what he cares about, you hurt him. Simple math." One of the other men grabbed a chair and smashed it against the counter. Another swept his arm across a table, sending dishes crashing to the floor. They were destroying the diner methodically, efficiently, making their point with every shattered plate and overturned table. Leo lunged forward. "Stop." The backhand caught him across the face, sent him sprawling. Maya screamed, started toward him, but Scarface grabbed her arm. "We're just getting started, sweetheart. This is just property damage. Next time." "There won't be a next time." Every head turned toward the door. Rafael stood in the entrance, silhouetted by the streetlights behind him.
No guards. No backup.
Just him alone, hands in his pockets like he'd stopped by for a casual visit. But there was nothing casual about his eyes. They were black holes, empty of everything except cold, calculated fury. Scarface's confident smile faltered.
Costa.
"This doesn't concern you anymore."
You made your point with the debt.
Moreno's making his. By sending 4 men to terrorize a waitress and her kid brother? Rafael walked forward slowly, his footsteps crunching on broken glass. "That's Moreno's idea of making a point? That's embarrassing." "You embarrassed him first." Scarface tightened his grip on Maya's arm. She winced. "Paid off a debt that wasn't yours to pay. Undermined his authority. Made him look soft." "I made him look stupid," Rafael corrected. "There's a difference. Soft is forgivable. Stupid gets you killed." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. The 4 men shifted uneasily, hands moving toward weapons they hadn't drawn yet. "You're outnumbered, Costa," but Scarface's voice had lost its confidence. 4 against 1. Even you can't. "I'm not here to fight." Rafael stopped 6 feet away, his posture relaxed, almost bored. "I'm here to give you a choice. Walk out now, go back to Moreno, tell him this vendetta ends tonight. No more attacks. No more threats. Maya and her brother are off the table permanently. And if we don't," one of the other men asked, his hand on a knife at his belt. Rafael's expression didn't change. "Then this stops being about business and becomes about bodies. Starting with yours." He looked at Scarface. "You know my reputation. You know I don't make threats I won't follow through on. So here's your one chance. Walk away, or I turn this diner into a crime scene that'll make the front page." The silence stretched like a wire pulled too tight. Maya could hear her own heartbeat, feel Leo's ragged breathing from where he'd fallen. The four men looked at each other, weighing options, calculating odds. Scarface released Maya's arm slowly. Moreno won't forget this. Good, Raphael's smile was razor-sharp. Tell him if he sends anyone near Maya or her family again, I'll burn his entire operation to the ground and salt the earth where it stood. He knows I can do it. He knows I will. The four men backed toward the door, their bravado crumbling. But just before they left, one of them, a younger guy, maybe trying to prove something, grabbed a knife from his belt and lunged. Raphael moved like lightning, caught the man's wrist mid-strike, twisted it with a sickening crack, and slammed him face-first into the nearest wall. Blood sprayed from the man's broken nose. The knife clattered to the floor. No blood tonight, Raphael said quietly, his hand still pinning the man against the wall. I said no blood. That means you walk away breathing. But you make me hurt you, and I'll make it educational. He released the man, who stumbled out after his companions, cradling his broken wrist and whimpering. Then there was silence. Just Raphael standing in the middle of the destroyed diner, Maya pressed against the counter with her heart trying to burst through her ribs, and Leo on the floor, staring at Raphael like he was watching a force of nature that couldn't be reasoned with. Raphael turned to Maya. His right hand was bleeding, knuckles split open from where he'd blocked the knife strike she hadn't even seen. You hurt. Maya shook her head mutely.
Loud.
I'm okay, Leo croaked, getting slowly to his feet. Raphael surveyed the damage. Broken windows, shattered dishes, overturned furniture.
His jaw tightened.
Then he pulled out his phone and made 3 calls in rapid succession, each one brief and efficient. When he finished, he looked at Maya. Cleanup crew will be here in 20 minutes. New windows by morning. I'll cover everything. Raphael. Maya's voice broke. Not now, he swayed slightly, and Maya realized the blood on his hand wasn't just from his knuckles. His jacket had a dark stain spreading from his side. You're hurt. Maya rushed forward without thinking, reaching for his jacket. Let me see. It's nothing, but he didn't pull away when she unzipped the jacket and saw the knife wound, shallow but bleeding steadily, just above his hip where the blade had gotten through. Nothing. Her voice rose. You're bleeding. I've had worse. Raphael's eyes met hers. You sure you're okay? And somehow, impossibly, he sounded more worried about her than about the knife wound in his side. Maya had never thought she'd be in Raphael Costa's apartment at 1 a.m., but life had stopped making sense around the time he'd caught a knife meant for her. Sit. She pointed at the leather couch in his living room, sleek, expensive, everything cream and black and chrome. The kind of place that looked like it belonged in a magazine, not to a man covered in other people's blood. I'm fine, Raphael said for the 5th time, but he sat anyway, his jaw clenched against pain he wouldn't admit to feeling. Leo had wanted to come, but Maya had sent him home in a taxi with strict instructions to lock the doors and call her every hour. The cleanup crew Raphael had called had arrived within minutes, professionals who swept glass, boarded windows, and asked 0 questions. They'd been gone by midnight, leaving the diner looking like a construction site, but at least secure. Now Maya stood in a crime lord's pristine apartment with a first aid kit she demanded he produce, trying not to think about how insane this was. Take off your shirt, she said, opening the kit on the coffee table. Raphael raised an eyebrow. Usually I get dinner first. This isn't funny. Maya's hands shook as she pulled out gauze and antiseptic. You almost died because of me. I got a scratch because some punk got lucky. Raphael peeled off his ruined jacket and t-shirt, wincing. There's a difference. The knife wound was a 4-inch gash just above his hip, not deep enough to need stitches, but bleeding more than he'd admitted. But it was the other scars that made Maya's breath catch. Dozens of them, crisscrossing his torso like a roadmap of violence. Bullet wounds, knife marks, burns. Each one a story she didn't want to know. Jesus, she whispered. How are you even alive? Stubbornness, mostly. Raphael watched her face. You don't have to do this. I can handle it. You protect everyone but yourself, Maya said quietly, echoing words she'd spoken weeks ago. She soaked a cloth in antiseptic. This is going to hurt. I know. She pressed the cloth to his wound. Raphael's entire body went rigid, muscles bunching under scarred skin, but he didn't make a sound.
Didn't flinch.
Just stared at the wall with a 1,000-yard stare that said this wasn't even close to the worst pain he'd endured. That somehow made it worse. Why do you do this? Maya asked, cleaning the wound with gentle, methodical strokes. You could have called your people. Had them handle Moreno's guys. But you came alone.
Why?
Because it was my fault they came. Raphael's voice was quiet. I paid Leo's debt. I made it clear he was under my protection. That painted a target on your back. I don't drag other people into my wars and then hide behind my soldiers. So, you just throw yourself in front of knives instead? Maya's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to cry. You could have died, Raphael. That knife was 6 inches from something vital. But it missed. By luck. Her voice rose. By stupid, random luck. And next time? What if next time? She couldn't finish the sentence. Raphael's hand caught hers, stilling her shaking fingers. His palm was rough, calloused, warm against her skin.
Hey.
Look at me. Maya met his eyes. Up close, they weren't empty at all. They were deep and dark and full of things she couldn't name. Regret, exhaustion, something that might have been hope if hope knew how to live in a man like him. I've been doing this for 15 years, Raphael said softly. I've survived things that should have killed me a dozen times over. I'm still here because I'm careful, I'm smart, and I'm really, really good at not dying. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. But tonight? I wasn't thinking about survival. I was thinking that if Moreno's guys hurt you, I'd burn the city down. And that scared me more than the knife. Maya's throat felt too tight to speak. She pulled her hand away gently and finished bandaging his wound, her movements automatic, clinical. When she was done, she sat back on her heels and looked at him, this complicated, violent, impossible man who'd upended her entire world. I don't understand you, she whispered. That makes 2 of us. Raphael pulled on a clean shirt from somewhere, moving carefully to avoid reopening the wound. You should hate me. Fear me, at minimum. But you're sitting in my apartment at 1 a.m. cleaning my wounds like it's the most normal thing in the world. Nothing about this is normal. Maya started packing up the first aid kit, needing something to do with her hands. Normal people don't have mafia bosses showing up to save them from gang violence. Normal people don't. She stopped, the words catching. Don't what? Don't look at someone like you and see a person who needs saving too. The silence that followed was so complete Maya could hear her own heartbeat. Raphael stared at her like she'd just spoken a foreign language he was trying to translate. Nobody's saved me, he said finally. I'm not the one who needs saving. Aren't you? Maya met his eyes. You told me yourself. You built walls to keep your world under control, but you trapped yourself inside. You run an empire, but you spend your mornings in a diner drinking coffee alone because it's the only place you can pretend to be human. You protect everyone around you, but you won't let anyone protect you back. She stood, hugging the first aid kit to her chest like armor. If that's not someone who needs saving, I don't know what is. Raphael looked at her for a long moment. Then, he did something she'd never seen him do before. He let his guard drop completely. The walls came down. The mask fell away. And underneath was just a tired man who'd been fighting alone for so long he'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone in his corner. I told you about my sister, he said quietly. What I didn't tell you was that I promised her, before she died, that I'd get out. That I'd leave this life, and be better. She was 15. She believed I could change. His voice cracked. She died believing in a version of me that I killed a long time ago. Maya set down the first aid kit and sat beside him on the couch. Not touching, but close enough. Maybe that version isn't as dead as you think. Maya. You fixed our door. You paid my brother's debt. You took a knife for me tonight when you could have just let your guys handle it. She turned to face him fully. A dead man doesn't do those things. A dead man doesn't care. Raphael's hand found hers again, this time holding on like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to the world. I don't know how to be anyone except who I am. Then be who you are, Maya squeezed his hand. But maybe stop doing it alone. They sat like that for a long time, two people from impossible different worlds, connected by something neither of them could name but both of them could feel, fragile and dangerous and real as the scars on Raphael's skin, or the fear in Maya's heart. Outside, the city slept. Inside, for the first time in 15 years, Rafael Costa stopped carrying the weight of his empire alone, even if just for a moment. Even if just with the waitress who saw him as both monster and man, and chose to sit beside him anyway. Maya didn't leave that night. She fell asleep on Raphael's couch sometime around 3 a.m., exhausted from adrenaline crash and emotional overload. When she woke, pale morning light was filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows, and Raphael was in the kitchen making coffee. He'd changed into fresh clothes, jeans, and a gray Henley that made him look younger, less intimidating. The bandage on his side was visible beneath the thin fabric, a white square against his skin. He moved carefully, favoring his injured side, but his hands were steady as he poured 2 mugs. "Cream and sugar?" he asked without turning around. "You know how I take my coffee?" Maya sat up, disoriented. "You always add cream and 2 sugars when you drink it at the diner." Raphael brought both mugs to the living room, handed her one. Figured it was the same everywhere. He'd been watching her that closely. The realization should have been creepy. Instead, it just felt sad. Like a man studying the only piece of normalcy in his life, memorizing details in case it disappeared. They drank in silence for a while. Then Raphael spoke, his voice quiet. "You asked me once why I do this. Why I built this life." He stared into his mug. "I never gave you a real answer." Maya set down her coffee. "You don't have to." "My sister's name was Isabella." The words came out rough, like he hadn't said them aloud in years.
Bella.
"She was 8 years younger than me. 15 when she died." He paused, jaw working. "She had this laugh, loud and completely unself-conscious. Used to embarrass me when I was trying to act tough in front of my friends." Maya's chest tightened. She'd known about his sister in abstract, but hearing him say her name made her real. "After my father died, I started working for a guy named Vincent Rossi. Small-time operator. Protection rackets mostly. The money was good. Kept us afloat when my mother couldn't." Raphael's hands tightened around his mug. "I was smart. Ruthless. Rossi liked that. Within 2 years, I was his right hand. By 21, I'd taken over his entire operation."
How?
Maya asked softly. "I made him disappear." Raphael said it without emotion. "He was getting sloppy, attracting attention. I gave him a choice, retire quietly, or I'd make sure he couldn't run anything ever again. He chose retirement." "Sort of." Maya didn't ask what sort of meant. She wasn't sure she wanted to know. "I told myself I was doing it for family. For Bella and Mom. To give them a better life." Raphael's laugh was bitter. "But really? I liked it. The power. The respect. The fear. I was good at being in control, at making people do what I wanted. And Bella, she was so proud of me. Thought I was some kind of hero because I bought her nice things, made sure she got into a good school." He set down his mug with deliberate care. "She didn't know where the money came from. I kept that world separate. Made sure she never saw the violence, the deals, the people I hurt to maintain control. She thought I was a businessman." "What happened?" Maya whispered. "A rival crew tried to move into my territory. I pushed back hard, burned their operations, sent their leader to the hospital with a message carved into his chest." Raphael's voice went flat. "They retaliated. Planned to hit me outside my mother's house, send a message of their own. But I wasn't there that day. Bella was." Maya's hand flew to her mouth. "Drive-by shooting. 17 bullets fired. 3 hit Bella." Raphael's eyes were distant, seeing something Maya couldn't. "She died in my arms on her mother's front lawn. The last thing she said to me was, 'I don't understand, Rafi. Why did they hurt me?' She didn't even know she was dying." just confused why someone would shoot her. Tears streamed down Maya's face. She didn't try to hide them. I killed them all. Raphael's voice was emotionless. Every single person involved. Not quick. Not clean. I made it last. Made sure every crew in the city knew what happens when you target family. After that, nobody touched my mother. Nobody even looked at her wrong. Because they knew I'd erase them from existence. But Bella was already gone, Maya said softly. Yeah, Raphael's hands clenched into fists. She was already gone. And I realized I'd built this empire on violence and fear, told myself it was to protect my family, but in the end, it's what got her killed. My choices. My world. My fault. It wasn't your fault, Maya said firmly. Those men made the choice to shoot her. Not you. I gave them the reason. Raphael finally looked at her, and his eyes were raw with 15 years of grief. Before she died, Bella made me promise something. She grabbed my hand and said, "Be good, Rafi. Promise me you'll be good." She was dying, and she was worried about my soul. His voice broke. I promised her. And then I spent the next 15 years becoming exactly the opposite. I built walls of fear around everyone I cared about. Ruled through violence. Became the kind of monster that makes grown men cry. I told myself it was to keep people safe, to maintain control so nothing like Bella could happen again. But really? He laughed, a broken sound. Really, I was just too scared to be anything else. Because being good, being the person Bella believed I could be, that meant being vulnerable. That meant admitting I couldn't control everything. And if I couldn't control everything, people could get hurt. People I cared about could die. So you stopped caring, Maya said quietly. Or pretended to. Until you, Raphael, met her eyes. You looked at me like I was human. Talked to me like I mattered beyond what I could do for you. And suddenly I wanted to be the person you saw. Someone who fixed doors and drank coffee and protected people without leaving bodies behind. Maya reached for his hand. His fingers were cold. You are that person. You're both people. The question is which one you want to feed. I don't know if I can be anything except what I am. Then start small. Maya squeezed his hand. You already have. Every morning you came to the diner. That was you trying to be different. Every time you helped without being asked. Every moment you chose to protect instead of destroy. She smiled through her tears. Bella saw something good in you before she died. Maybe she wasn't wrong. Maybe it just took you 15 years to start believing her. Raphael was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper.
I'm tired, Maya.
I'm so tired of being this person. Then stop, she said it simply, like it was the easiest thing in the world. Stop being him. It's not that simple. I know, Maya moved closer, their hands still intertwined. I know it's complicated and dangerous, and probably impossible. But maybe that's okay. Maybe you don't have to fix everything today. Maybe you just have to decide that tomorrow you want to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. Outside, the city was waking up. Cars honking, people heading to work, the world turning like it always did. But inside Raphael's apartment, something shifted. A wall cracked. A door opened. A man who'd been carrying ghosts for 15 years finally let someone help him bear the weight. Stay, Raphael said suddenly. Just for a while. Stay. So Maya stayed, sitting beside a broken man in the morning light, both of them damaged and scared, and trying to figure out how to be better than their worst moments. And for the first time since Bella died, Raphael Costa believed that maybe, just maybe, he could keep the promise he'd made to his sister all those years ago. The police arrived at Danny's diner 3 days later, just as Maya was starting to believe the worst was over. She was refilling the coffee station when 2 detectives walked in, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled into a tight bun, and a younger man with the kind of eager expression that said he still believed he could save the world. Maya Rodriguez? The woman flashed a badge. Detective Sarah Chun, Chicago PD. This is Detective Marcus Webb. We'd like to ask you some questions about the incident that occurred here Friday night. Maya's stomach dropped. Raphael had warned her this might happen. Moreno's got cops on his payroll, he'd said. But not all of them. Some are just doing their jobs. Be careful which questions you answer. Of course, Maya set down the coffee pot with trembling hands. Should I get my manager? That won't be necessary. Just a few routine questions. Chin gestured to an empty booth. Mind if we sit? They sat. Chin pulled out a notebook while Webb watched Maya with the intensity of someone trying to solve a puzzle. So, Chun began, Friday night, November 3rd. 4 men entered this establishment around 11:30 p.m. and vandalized the property. Multiple witnesses reported seeing you and another individual, your brother, Leo Rodriguez, present during the attack. Is that accurate? Yes, Maya's voice was steady. Leo and I were closing. They broke the windows and destroyed furniture. Did they say anything? Make any demands? Maya hesitated. This was the dangerous part. They said someone named Moreno sent them. I don't know who that is. Chen's expression didn't change, but Webb leaned forward. You don't know who Carlos Moreno is? He runs the biggest drug operation on the South Side. I serve coffee, detective. I don't keep track of drug dealers. But you do keep track of Rafael Costa. Chen's eyes sharpened. Our witnesses say he arrived during the attack. Confronted the 4 men. Made them leave. That sound right? Maya's pulse hammered. Yes. And what happened then? He told them to leave. They left. Webb scoffed. 4 armed gang members just walked away because Rafael Costa asked nicely? Come on, Miss Rodriguez. We know Costa's reputation. He's got over a dozen suspected murders to his name. You expect us to believe he stopped an attack through conversation? I don't know what you expect me to believe. Detective Maya met his eyes. I know what I saw. 4 men broke in. Mr. Costa arrived. He told them to leave. They left. Nobody died. No shots fired. Just broken windows and some damaged furniture. Interesting choice of words, Mr. Costa. Chin tapped her pen against her notebook. Most people in this neighborhood call him worse things.
But you sound almost
Respectful. He stopped them from hurting us. Why wouldn't I be respectful? Because he's a criminal, Webb said flatly. Because he makes his money through violence and intimidation. Because good people don't associate with men like Rafael Costa unless they're being coerced or complicit. Maya felt anger flare in her chest. He prevented bloodshed that night. Those men came here to hurt me and my brother. Mr. Costa stopped them without killing anyone. If he's such a monster, why didn't he just shoot them? Why talk them down? Chun and Webb exchanged glances. Chun made a note in her book. That's an excellent question, Miss Rodriguez. One we'd like to ask Mr. Costa ourselves. Do you know where we can find him? No idea. The lie came easier than it should have. He comes here for coffee sometimes. That's all I know about him. Coffee, Webb's tone was skeptical. Rafael Costa, who owns half the criminal enterprises in the city, comes to this diner for coffee. And you expect us to believe there's nothing else going on? Detective Webb. Maya's voice went cold. I'm a waitress. I pour coffee and take orders. If Mr. Costa wants to drink coffee here, that's his business. If you want to interrogate him, that's your business. But I'm not going to help you build a case against someone who saved my life. Even if he's a killer? Chun asked quietly. Even then, Maya's hands were shaking but her voice stayed firm. Because those 4 men who came here, they had knives. They had guns. They were going to hurt us and nobody else showed up to stop them.
not you.
Not any other cops. Just Mr. Costa. So forgive me if I'm not eager to throw him under the bus. Webb stood abruptly. You're making a mistake. Costa will drag you down with him. He's already trying to climb out, Maya interrupted. The words came without thinking, but once they were out, she knew they were true. Whatever you think he is, whatever he's done, he's trying to be better. And maybe that's worth something. Chin studied her for a long moment. Then she closed her notebook and stood. Thank you for your time, Miss Rodriguez. If you think of anything else, give us a call. She handed Maya a card. As they walked toward the door, Chin paused and looked back. For what it's worth, I hope you're right about him. But in my 20 years doing this job, I've never seen men like Rafael Costa climb out. They just dig deeper holes until they bury themselves. Then they were gone. Maya stood frozen in the empty booth, Chen's card clutched in her hand, her words echoing in her head. He'll drag you down with him. But that wasn't what scared her. What scared her was that she didn't care. That somewhere between the broken windows and the bandaged knife wound and the story about Bella, she'd stopped seeing Rafael Costa as just a dangerous man to avoid and started seeing him as someone worth fighting for. The diner's bell chimed. Maya looked up to see Sarah rushing over, phone in hand. "You're not going to believe this." Sarah's eyes were wide. The police report just went public online. Someone leaked it to the Tribune. They're running a story. She showed Maya her phone. The headline read, "Local crime boss Rafael Costa prevents gang violence. Eyewitnesses say he talked down armed attackers." For the first time in recorded history, Rafael Costa's name appeared in the press without the word murder or investigation beside it. Instead, it was next to words like prevented and de-escalated, and buried in the third paragraph, one line that made Maya's breath catch. "He's trying to climb out," said one witness who declined to be named. Her words, in the newspaper, for everyone to see. Maya sank into the nearest chair, her heart pounding, wondering if she'd just made everything better or infinitely worse. The story hit the Tribune's website at 9 a.m. By noon, it had been picked up by 3 major news outlets. By evening, Rafael Costa's unlikely act of peaceful intervention was trending on social media with hashtags like #RedemptionArc and #NotAllMobsters. Maya watched it unfold from behind the diner's counter, her phone buzzing with messages from numbers she didn't recognize, reporters wanting interviews, bloggers asking for quotes, even a podcast host requesting she come on to discuss the humanization of organized crime figures. She ignored them all. Rafael hadn't been to the diner since the attack. 5 days of silence. Maya told herself it was for the best. He was probably lying low, dealing with fallout from Moreno, managing his empire. But she couldn't shake the feeling that he was avoiding her, that maybe her words to the police had complicated his life in ways she couldn't fix. The renovation crew showed up on Wednesday morning. Not a cleanup crew this time, a full construction team with blueprints and permits and a foreman who introduced himself as Tony. "Mr. Costa hired us to fix everything," he explained, gesturing to the boarded windows and damaged walls. "New windows, new flooring, fresh paint, updated wiring." He said to make it better than it was. "How long will it take?" Danny asked, appearing from his office with dollar signs practically visible in his eyes. "Week and a half, maybe 2. We'll work fast." They did. The crew arrived at 6 a.m. each day and worked until dark, transforming the diner from a crime scene back into something beautiful. New windows, double-paned and actually clean. Fresh paint in warm cream and forest green. Refinished floors that didn't squeak. Even new booth cushions to replace the ones held together with duct tape. Danny hadn't paid a cent. When he tried to discuss costs with Tony, the foreman had just shaken his head. "Already covered. Just sign here to confirm completion." Anonymous funding. But everyone knew who was behind it. On the 8th day, Maya arrived for her shift to find the work nearly complete. The diner looked reborn, familiar but better, like it had shed old skin and emerged renewed. Tony was supervising the installation of a new coffee machine when he pulled Maya aside. Mr. Costa left specific instructions about this. He pointed to the corner booth, Rafael's booth. "Wanted us to make sure this section got extra attention. New table, new cushions, good lighting. Said someone important sits here." Maya's throat tightened. Did he say anything else? "Just that he hopes you like it." Tony handed her an envelope. "Asked me to give you this when we finished." Inside was a handwritten note on expensive stationery. "Maya, by the time you read this, the diner should be fixed. Better than before, hopefully. Consider it an apology for bringing trouble to your door, and thanks for everything you've done. You were right about a lot of things. I'm trying to climb out, like you said. It's harder than I thought, but I'm trying."
Ed.
No phone number. No promise to return. Just a note and a renovated diner and the ghost of a man trying to be better. Raphael came back on a Saturday morning 3 weeks after the attack. Maya was wiping down tables at 10:15 when the bell chimed. She looked up and there he was, leather jacket, dark jeans, the same unreadable expression. But something was different. He looked lighter somehow, less weighed down. Table for one? Maya's voice came out steadier than her hands. If you have room. She led him to his booth, the corner one with new cushions and perfect lighting. He slid in, looked around at the transformed diner, and something that might have been a smile touched his lips. You like it? He asked. It's beautiful. Maya set down a menu he wouldn't read. You didn't have to do all this. Yes, I did. Raphael's gaze met hers. You were right. About me trying to climb out. About being tired of being who I am. After the police came, after that story hit the paper, he paused. People started looking at me differently. Not scared. Just different. Like maybe I wasn't just the monster anymore. You were never just the monster. Maya sat across from him without asking. What happened with Moreno? We came to an understanding. Raphael's voice was careful. He agreed to stay out of my territory. I agreed not to destroy his operations. It cost me some reputation points. Word on the street is Rafael Costa's going soft. But nobody's died over it. That's new for me. That's growth, Maya corrected. Maybe. Raphael reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. I need to show you something. He slid it across the table. Maya unfolded it, confused. Then her breath caught. It was a deed. To Danny's diner. Dated today. And the owner's name listed was Maya Elena Rodriguez. What? Maya's hands started shaking. What is this? Danny was planning to sell. Retire to Florida, cash out while the place was newly renovated. Raphael's voice was calm. I bought it, but I don't want a diner. So, I'm giving it to you. You can't just… Maya couldn't form words. Raphael, this is worth this is. It's yours, he stood, dropped a 20 on the table for coffee he hadn't ordered yet. You gave me something I couldn't buy, a second chance to be decent. To be the person my sister believed I could be. This is me saying thank you. But… No arguments, Raphael's voice was firm. The paperwork's already filed. Danny's happy, you're the owner, and I'm just a customer who comes here for coffee. That's all. Maya stared at the deed, at her name printed in official legal text, at the signature at the bottom. Raphael's handwriting, bold and certain. Then she looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Why? Because you see people, Maya. Really see them. You saw past what I am to what I could be. You didn't run when you should have. You stayed. You helped. His voice softened. Nobody's done that in 15 years. This diner, it's where I learned I could be more than what I built. Seems right that you should own it. He turned to leave. Raphael, wait, Maya stood, still clutching the deed. Are you still coming for coffee? He paused at the door, looked back with something that was definitely a smile this time. If the owner doesn't mind. She doesn't. Maya smiled through her tears. Black coffee, right? Always. Then he was gone, walking out into the bright morning sun, leaving Maya standing in her diner, holding a deed and a second chance and the strange, beautiful realization that sometimes monsters could learn to be men, and sometimes waitresses could own their dreams, and sometimes broken people could help each other heal. The bell chimed again. Customers filed in, drawn by the renovated space and the smell of fresh coffee. Maya tucked the deed safely in her pocket and got to work, a smile on her face and hope in her heart. Rafael Costa had given her a diner. But more than that, he'd given her proof that people could change. That redemption wasn't a destination but a journey. That climbing out of darkness was possible if someone was willing to believe in you. And Maya believed. 6 months passed like a gentle exhale. Spring arrived in Chicago with warmth that felt like forgiveness. Maya's diner, she'd kept the name simple, refused Danny's suggestion to call it something fancy, thrived under her ownership. New menu items, better hours, staff that actually smiled at customers. Word spread. The place that had once been a haven for late-night drunks and truckers became a neighborhood fixture where families brought their kids and elderly couples shared coffee on Sunday mornings. Leo worked full-time now, managing the kitchen with a confidence Maya hadn't seen in years. The construction job Raphael had arranged had taught him discipline, but working for his sister had taught him purpose. He was clean, focused, saving money for community college in the fall. Raphael still came every morning, like clockwork. 10:30 a.m., corner booth, black coffee, newspaper. But something had shifted in those 6 months. The whispers that used to follow him had faded to curious glances, then gradually to nothing at all. He was just another regular, the quiet guy who tipped well and sometimes helped carry heavy boxes from the delivery truck. His empire hadn't disappeared. Maya wasn't naive enough to think he'd become a saint overnight. But the violence had quieted. The fear had softened. People in the neighborhood started calling him by his first name instead of just Costa, said like a curse. On a bright May morning, Maya was refilling salt shakers when Raphael walked in. Sunlight poured through the windows, the new ones he'd installed, casting everything in gold. He looked different today. Lighter. Almost peaceful. Morning, Maya said, already reaching for the coffee pot. Morning, Raphael slid into his booth, but instead of reaching for the newspaper, he just sat there, looking around the diner like he was memorizing it. Maya poured his coffee, noting the small envelope he'd placed on the table. What's that? Something I've been working on. Raphael pushed it toward her. Open it. Inside was a key attached to a simple keychain and a business card for a construction company she didn't recognize. She looked at him, confused. I'm out, Raphael said simply. Sold my operations to someone who will run them with less blood. Use the money to start that. He tapped the business card. Legitimate construction company. Licensed, legal, paying taxes. My father would have laughed himself sick. Maya's hands trembled. You're serious? Dead serious, a ghost of a smile. Took 6 months to set up, transfer everything, make sure the transition was smooth enough that nobody got killed over it. But as of yesterday morning, I'm just a guy who owns a construction company and drinks too much coffee. Raphael. Maya didn't know what to say. Didn't have words big enough for what this meant. The keys to the building where the office is, he continued. I need someone to run the administrative side. Someone organized, trustworthy, good with people. His eyes met hers. Someone who sees potential in broken things. Interested? I have a diner to run, Maya whispered. I know. That's why it's part-time. Few hours a week, handle paperwork, manage schedules. Leo mentioned you've been looking to hire another manager here anyway. This could supplement the income while you train someone. Maya stared at the key, at Raphael, at the impossible future being offered on a simple metal keychain. Why me? Because you're the reason I'm out. Raphael's voice was quiet, honest. Every morning I came here, I got to pretend to be normal. Got to be the person you saw instead of the monster everyone else feared. Eventually, pretending wasn't enough. I wanted to actually be that person. He leaned back. You believed I could climb out. Figured I should prove you right. Tears blurred Maya's vision. She thought about Bella, about a dying girl asking her brother to be good, about 15 years of violence and fear and walls built so high they blocked out light, about a man who'd learned, slowly and painfully, that redemption was possible if you were willing to do the work. I'll take the job, she said. On one condition. Name it. You keep coming here for coffee. Every morning. Same booth. Same terrible newspaper opinions I have to listen to. Raphael's smile was real this time, reaching his eyes in a way that transformed his entire face.
Deal.
He stood to leave, dropping a 20 on the table like always. But this time, Maya caught his hand. I'm proud of you, she said simply. Bella would be too. Something flickered across Raphael's face, grief and hope and gratitude all tangled together. He squeezed her hand once, then let go. See you tomorrow, boss. See you tomorrow. Maya watched him walk out into the spring morning. No guards flanking him, No gun hidden under his jacket, no empire weighing on his shoulders. Just a man in a leather jacket, heading to his construction office, trying to build something honest for the first time in his adult life. The diner filled with morning customers, the Lopez family with their twin toddlers, Mrs. Chun ordering her usual eggs and toast, the college students camping out with laptops and endless coffee refills. Life, normal and beautiful, and exactly what Maya and Raphael had both been searching for. She pocketed the key, refreshed Mrs. Chen's coffee, and smiled at the sound of her diner, full of laughter and conversation and hope. Outside, Raphael Costa disappeared into the morning crowd. Not running, not hiding, just walking forward into whatever came next, one step at a time, carrying the promise he'd made to his sister and the second chance a simple waitress had helped him find. The monster was gone. The man remained. And that, Maya thought as she poured another round of coffee, was enough.
The end.